What is up, down, and sideways, all ye old scallywags? It is League Unlock, but more importantly, today is Global Power Rankings, a special episode. Really only special because we are flying Han Solo on this one, and it's the finale of the regular season for a lot of the major regions. Exactly everybody except for the LCK. So this is where the rankings get a little bit more difficult once playoffs start rolling around, because there's a lot more that you can take from a full best of 5 series than, at least, I mean, in terms of Europe and the LCS. 2 best of 1s a week is what you're gauging on throughout the year for power ranking. So seeing full best ofs will actually make it easier to kind of differentiate who the best teams are. And even though a lot of squads are eliminated, anyone not making playoffs did not have a hope or a prayer of making the top 20 teams globally. So really, the list shouldn't be changing from here on out. It's once you start seeing teams get eliminated from playoffs that things might get a little bit more complicated. But we're going 20-1 as always. Not many new squads making the list this week, and really a lot of squads staying put or doing minor moves up and down. No huge drops, no huge climbs this week. But number 20, where we start, you have LGD, who, sure, they're actually the higher seed in that 6-7 matchup against World Elite. But as you can see, World Elite's higher on the rankings. Think that they should be favorites heading into that match. LGD haven't had a ton of confidence in them over the last few weeks, really. Number 19 is one of those new squads. We had to put them on. God Gilius, Faker Dog A, Schalke 04, Schalke No Fear. The incredible 7-game win streak, the miracle run to even qualify in what is actually one of the most, probably the most competitive years that we've seen in a long time in Europe. They somehow managed to do it. Sure, they're only a 6th seed, but they bump SK Gaming out of the top 20, because in that 5-6 matchup with how they're rolling, Schalke should absolutely be favored against anybody who's not the top 4, and I would even favor them over Fnatic right now. That's how well they're playing. This ain't no fluke that they won this many games in a row. Odawamne's a rock in the top lane. Abadoge's a top 4 mid laner. Gilius cannot be smitten or smoted or smite against. He is all over the objective control, and even Neon and Dreams have not been a liability. They've been relatively consistent. So Schalke absolutely deserves to be on this list. Never thought in my wildest dreams we'd be talking about them making the top 20. They sneak in right at the end, especially if they do lose in the first round of playoffs. Glad that they finally got the recognition they deserve to at least be on this list. Schalke in at number 19. A couple of LPL squads ahead of them, a couple of non-playoff LPL squads, which means, yes, half of this list, 10 teams, are LPL squads. And RNG, I mean, they blew it against BLG. Losing that series basically killed their playoff chances. They might not have made it even if they won that series, but they had a much better chance because it was impossible when they lost to them. EDG, your 4-game win streak came a little too late, guys. Both of these squads, 8-8. You needed 9-7. You had to crack that 500 barrier to make it into the playoffs in the LPL. Not the same for any of the other regions, by the way. Well, the LCK will be. But tough stuff for them to not make it. 2 of the most storied franchises in the LPL not heading into playoffs, not heading to the World Championship, but at the very least, they turned it on at the end and still make it into the top 20. Maybe they'll hover here for another week as playoffs slowly wind down or wind up. Excuse me. But for now, 17 and 18 respectively. And EDG, they had that 2-0 versus Victory 5. They were looking clean. Maybe, I think if you had another week or two of the LPL playoffs, we'd absolutely see EDG climbing up into one of those playoff spots. But for now, just on the outside looking in, which it's sad. We're not going to see Scout. We're not going to see Uzi. Doesn't matter if RNG had made it. We're not seeing Uzi at all. But Zhao Longbao has been great. No Zhao Hu. Not seeing some of these storied players at the World Championship this year. 16, staying put from what we saw last week is Cloud9. And to be honest, I even thought about, hesitated, maybe even moving them down a spot, because a 2-0 against Dignitas and CLG is not really enough based on what we saw the last few weeks for them to climb any, that's for sure. And you combine that with the fact that they actually struggled mightily against Dignitas. That game was very much in question for the majority of the time. They were down I think 10-4 in kills at one point. Dignitas was in the driver's seat. They even just secured a Baron. Mark and I talked about it on the recap show. You're one empowered Baron recall away from maybe not actually winning the game, or at the very least it being extended and you having to do another push to win if Phoenix doesn't get Johnson killed. I know Dignitas has played better, but they're still a 5-13 squad. The Cloud9 that we've seen for a split and a half would absolutely annihilate them in 23 minutes and have a 12k gold lead. So the fact that they're not doing that to squads like Dignitas is still a little bit of a concern going forward. So they stay at 16. World Elite, we kind of mentioned. They lost to Top Esports this week, which there's really no shame in that. But they also dropped the game to OMG, which means they have to go down a couple of spots. Like I said, I still like them slightly in that LGD matchup. We're not talking huge favorites. I expect them to 3-0 them, but slight edge, could be 3-1, maybe even go the distance. But World Elite, Teacher Ma, Beijing has been fantastic. Xiao Meng, fresh off Rookie of the Split honors over in the LPL. They already handed out their awards. They really wasted no time. He finished with the same man of the match points as Knight. So yes, deserving Rookie of the Split. Team Liquid maintains that top spot for North American squads, which is now at number 14 out of the top 10. They finished with their best regular season record ever. We're talking the team that won 4 splits in a row, and 15-3 is their best record. Probably the most underwhelming 15-3 squad. Usually a dominant split like that, you're talking about them in very high praise, and we are. They're the highest team in North America, up to 14. They climb again. Listen, they went 11-1 to close out the split, and they looked much better in the second half. But of those 15 wins, there's at least 4, 5, maybe even 6 of them that they had no business winning. It was a big slobber knocker in the worst way. So for the first half of the split, they were very clearly still figuring things out, which is why it feels like this 15-3 record is maybe not as good as it looks on paper. They still look like a really good squad. Confidence internationally, don't have it yet, but that's what best ofs are for. And if you're North American, well, that's when your confidence dies, when you see those best of 5s. But for now, Team Liquid climb again to 14. FPX goes down a couple of spots, and we have Suning a few spots ahead of them as they climb. They had that direct head-to-head matchup this week, and I mean, take what you will from it. It was the absolute fiesta game. All 3 games were very close back and forth, and I don't know if this adds to FPX that they did it without LWX even being in the lineup when they had Khan and Gimgoon both playing for him. Well, he was sick, but Suning, this isn't the statement win. The statement win would have been smashing FPX 2-0 when they don't have their starting AD carry, but because it was so back and forth and because they struggled, they may be top 4 heading into playoffs, but I feel like almost every other, all 7 LPL squads I would favor against Suning in a matchup, but you got to put respect on them for now, and they might prove us wrong in playoffs. They deserve at least number 11, climbing back up there. I can't put them inside to crack that top 10, so they're sitting pretty at number 11, and sandwiched between them is G2 Esports, who had a 3-0 final week to lock up that 3rd seed. They move up 2 spots. XL, Misfits, and SK, they all took down. I mean, 2 of those 3 are not playoff squads, and one of them is a bottom 2 seed, but they did it in pretty convincing fashion. They did it with some fun picks like the Mundo in the top lane. So G2 slowly looking like they're getting back to that G2 peak performance form, and Perks, the positioning still a bit of an issue in some of these, but he also cleaned up a lot of these fights, and really I'm excited to see his champion pool extending to Caitlyn and Jhin, who have become much more meta over well, globally, really, most of the leagues. Caitlyn's absolutely insane right now. He seems to be comfortable on that pick. Jhin, I could do without seeing as much of, but he still looked relatively comfortable on the long-range sniper. So G2 not outside, or not inside the top 10 for now, sitting at number 12. I got a hunch that that's going to change once playoffs roll around. With that, now we roll into the top 10, which is where we've seen G2 hang out for the majority of, I don't know, a year and a half, almost 2 years now. That's where we've been talking about them. So still a little weird not seeing them there. But this week, it's pretty much the same squads, just slight changes. The real big one, not real big, Mad Lions still hanging on to top 10. They went 1 and 2 this week, so they climbed down a couple of spots. They lost to, they were destined to lose against Schalke because they had to make playoffs. So really, Mad Lions, at no fault of their own, they were on the wrong side of destiny on that one. They were on the wrong side of a fun little base race against Rogue. They almost got back into that game. It looked like it was going to be a runaway match for Rogue, but Mad ended up fighting their way back in before a bit of a miscommunication to close out that game. Even an inhib respawning wasn't enough for them to lock up that win, but still, you still got to have Rogue and Mad Lions as the top 2 teams in the LEC, and the loss to Vitality isn't enough for us to climb Rogue any higher than they are at 9, and they've been stuck in that 9 spot for a very long time, and the main reason is just the 8 teams ahead of them. Sure, 7-8 has rotated a bit over the last few weeks, but they're damn good teams. They'd have to be a really, they'd have to have a fantastic couple of weeks for them to climb up, and they've perennially been dropping a game here or there, a lot of 1-1 weeks, so they stay put at number 9. But hey, they're going to Worlds, so who cares where we put them on the rankings, because they're heading to the World Championship. I really hope they don't disappoint in the playoff run. I think they should be favorites against Fnatic. I think they win that 3-1 unless Fnatic all of a sudden flips a switch and returns to form. But I don't see that happening in one best of. Maybe after they lose to Rogue, things turn around for Fnatic, but I don't see them in this current form taking down Rogue. So Mad Lions dropped to T1. Back in the top 10 last week, they climbed yet again 2 spots to number 8, 2-0 versus Dynamics, and Soul Prince, almost a perfect game against Dynamics this week, and some people might be calling for them to climb even higher, ahead of somebody like Victory 5, but you gotta wait until they actually play some of the good teams, because the majority of this win streak, if not all of it, has been against the bottom 4 teams in the LCK, and there was more of that this week. And yes, Mark and I talked about it when we saw the schedule. They should be 2-0ing these games if they want to get confidence back in them. They've been doing that. All credit to them. Closer has looked great. Kana is all of a sudden a dark horse to get MVP, not just Rookie of the Year, but MVP in the summer split. So T1, things are looking great for them. Mark alluded to it earlier. The communication, the comms in general seem to be much better without Faker in the lineup, and you know it's only a matter of time. Once they're matching up against DRX and Damwon, you best believe Faker's going to come back into the lineup. The question is, will the communication issues stay a distant memory? Will the other players be confident enough to speak up over Faker, or will Faker, listen to calls from Kana, even though he's a rookie? Listen to calls from Effort more. We know how vocal he's been his entire tenure on the LCK, because the talent level is absolutely no question. Kana's even higher than anyone would have anticipated. It's just more about the macro plays and the communication, because we've seen some boneheaded moves around the map from T1 throughout all of the summer split. So that is where the real question mark is. They only play Afrika this week, so if they do that in convincing fashion, maybe they climb again, but it's not going to be a huge climb until, for them to crack the top 5, it's pretty simple. They have to beat at least one of DRX and Damwon. If they beat both, absolutely, they're soaring into that top 5. But if they go 1-1, maybe they're hovering on that bubble. If they drop both, yeah, you're not going into the top 5. So the last 2 weeks, the real tests for T1, it's beautifully how it's worked out, where it's really just accelerated up from the bottom teams. Then you get Afrika for 1 week, then it's DRX and Damwon. Now's the time to prove for them. Victory 5 stays put at number 7, ahead of T1 because of all those reasons we mentioned. They're riding that JDG upset victory still. Yes, they had the letdown against EDG. They bounced back against Rogue Warriors. even though they're below Suning in the standings, still feel like they're a better team. They have a higher ceiling, higher potential. They've proven themselves. Talk about statement wins. Suning doesn't necessarily have one because we're not counting that FPX dub. They took down Top Esports and JDG, did Victory 5. So they've absolutely proven themselves against the best of the best when it comes to the LPL. So I'm excited for their playoff run. Unfortunately, they have FPX, but I wouldn't be shocked if they come away with the victory against them. They played a close regular season series. It went to 3 games. Victory 5 staying put at number 7, and Gen G is staying put at number 6. They've been 6 for 3 or 4 weeks now. Just can't crack that top 5. We talked about they have to beat Damwon, then they'll be in the top 5, and they lost to them, but the loss, they took a game off them, so that's why they're not climbing backwards. It's only the 5th loss Damwon has had all split long. So credit to Gen G because it seems like even taking a game off of Damwon is a feat in what we've seen. And the first game was also close. It wasn't until game 3 where they got absolutely slapped by Damwon. But 2 out of 3 games close, enough to keep them in that number 6 spot, just hovering outside of that top 5. And BDD is right up there in MVP rankings again, as he should be. I feel like Clid still hasn't quite lived up to the anticipated hype that we've had for him since this Gen G roster was announced for all of 2020. But going well for them is Ruler has stepped up to play as of late and has looked again. He was almost invisible early on in summer and even at times in spring, especially if he wasn't on Aphelios. But now, Caitlyn's back in the meta. He's still playing Ezreal. He looks again like one of the top 380 carries in the LCK. It's him, Deft, and Teddy. Pretty much consensus, the top 3 right now, and Ruler is absolutely in the same conversation as them, which I'm happy to see him back playing at that level. But for now, you're running out of time. I mean, who could get in the top 5 first, Gen G or T1? Probably T1, just because the scheduling works out for them where they have, it's all easy matches mostly left for Gen G. They have Hanwha Life, Sandbox, and Afrika. I think if they 2-0 all 3 of those, I don't even know if that's enough to get into the top 5. T1 has those big marquee matchups, so they have a better opportunity to get top 5, but it is by no means going to be an easy road. The best of the best, the top 5 for this week. It's the same 5 squads, but a little bit of shifting going on. It was big, monumental shifts across the board last week. Not quite to the same level this week, but it is DRX staying put at number 5. There wasn't enough there for them to climb. They 2-0'd Sandbox. Great. You should be doing that. 13-2 now. But much like Gen G, that's the schedule is just not there yet for them to actually show up or for them to climb up, that is. And we'll have to wait for week 10 for them as well when they do match up against T1. It's Hanwha Life and Soul Prince left. DRX, we know they could drop the odd game to a worse team, but the question mark remains that it's Doran and Piosik. Can they step up to the plate? Because Chovy and Deft, no-brainers. They're absolutely world-class S tier, S++ tier, double carry threat for DRX. And Piosik at times has looked like an S tier jungler. I don't know if Doran can quite get to that S tier rank within the LCK or even internationally. But for now, DRX stay number 5. The triumvirate of LPL squads have kind of shifted all over the last couple of weeks with disappointing losses, underperforming. But JDG and TES stay put at 4 and 3. JDG this week, it was just versus OMG. They 2-0'd them. And we alluded to Rookie of the Split in the LPL. They had all pro teams announced as well. And your boy Zoom was robbed of the first team all pro. The Shy, the name, the myth, the legend locked it up. But it absolutely should have been Zoom. Luckily, Kanavi and Lu Mao took support and jungle honors. That's fair. That's fine. Kanavi, maybe you could make an argument for somebody else, but he wasn't nearly as dominant as he was in spring, but still one of the best junglers in the LPL. So JDG 4, TES, Knight. It's another MVP for the man, the myth, the legend. His numbers were absolutely insane across the board. Pretty much top 3, third at worst in every major category, MVP and first team all-pro mid laner. Jackie Love was the first team all-pro AD carry. 369 got dusted down to third team for top laner. He should be at least second. I would have put the Shy third. 369 second. But TES 2-1 versus World Elite this week, and that's maybe not enough for you to say, okay, they're the perennial favorites again to win the LPL like they were the first 6 weeks of the summer season, but they are still one of the big 3 contenders. Absolutely no question. They have a bye all the way to semis. 1 best of 5 away from qualifying for Worlds. We better see Knight at Worlds this year. IG, they lose their top spot. They go down to number 2, and there's not much to take from that Vici game that they lost. They were already locked into 3rd. It was completely meaningless for them. I can't imagine their focus was fully there, so there's almost nothing to really take from that series heading into playoffs. You can talk about momentum all you want, but listen, I gotta just praise Balon real quick, because the man came in halfway through the season and still locked up 2nd team All-Pro support. Absolutely nutty play out of him. Rookie deserving of 2nd team as well. And same with Ning. Everybody but Puff on IG making an all-pro list, which, fair. Probably how it should be. That's the win condition. That's the strengths that we've seen out of Invictus Gaming. So really, they go down a spot, yes, because you take a small amount of that Vici loss into consideration, but it's more so the utter dominance and strength out of Damwon that you have to put them number 1 now. We've waited long enough. This squad, the Gen.G series was enough to push them over, even though it took them 3 games. By the time that 3rd game rolled around, it was peak stomping form out of Damwon. They completely smashed it. We're talking aces before 10 minutes, closing the game out sub 25 minutes. Just utter domination across the map against Gen.G, one of the big 3 in the LCK. It's now back-to-back weeks almost, or at least in the last 3 weeks, that they've gone up against DRX and Gen.G, and we've said, okay, Damwon, let's see it against the other top teams. And they smashed them. They 2-0 DRX. They smashed Gen.G in Game 3. This is absolutely insane. 5 losses on the split. They are on pace for the lowest loss total since Kingzone in 2018 spring, when they only had 7 losses and they were absolutely annihilating the competition in the LCK. It's rare that a team, if they go perfect and finish with only 5 losses, that's the lowest loss total, even in less games. Teams didn't used to play as many series. They would only play 14 best ofs, and they've already played more than that. And they still only have 5 losses, which is just absolutely disgusting how hard they're smurfing on the rest of the LCK. Canyon was fantastic again. He's clearly the best jungler in the LCK. But I want to shout out Beryl, because he pulled out the support Sejuani against Gen.G. And just listen to some of the champions this dude has played. He's 8-1 on Pantheon support. Okay, Bard, Leona, Thresh. Yeah, those are pretty meta. Then you throw in a Maokai, a Set, still a little bit meta, a Poppy, and the Wukong. These are the picks this guy's playing in the bot lane. Ghost has stepped up for them, but the carry in the bot lane is Beryl. The dude's playing Pantheon, Wukong, and Set. He is the carry on the bot side, just completely roaming around the map. And Ghost, you don't often have your bot laner playing weak side, but Ghost is doing it almost every single game for Damwon to absolute perfection. Everything seems to be working great for them. I just hope, I pray that they do not choke in playoffs, because this version of Damwon is a treat to watch and something the LCK desperately needs internationally. That's it today for League Unlocked. Thanks for chilling out, Max, and relaxing all cool with us. We'll catch y'all on the flippity flop.